Hello everyone, my name is Derek and welcome to the Netflix Knowhow, the review show here to help you stop browsing and start watching. Today, we have Absolutely Anything, a sci-fi comedy film starring Simon Pegg as a teacher who is given magical powers by a group of aliens to determine if the Earth is worthy of being allowed into the intergalactic society. What powers, you say? The power to do absolutely anything! Yeah, it's not the most inventive title. Also, there's a catch to these powers, that being if Simon Pegg screws up and the aliens decide we are not worthy of joining them, we get blown up. That's right, the fate of the world rests in this guy's hands.
Give me a really big dick. Ouch! Not that big!
I'm not worried at all. So the whole premise of this movie is really just one big reason to create a bunch of exploitable gags created by Simon Pegg's powers, and for the most part, they're pretty funny. A lot of the humor falls back on that whole be careful what you wish for stereotype, because a lot of the things that he ends up doing don't really have the intended consequences. There's a part where he accidentally drops a meteor on his entire classroom's head, which of course kills every single one of them. He also manages to turn one of his friends into the unwilling leader of an overly obsessive cult. He even manages to bring all the dead back to life, zombie style. Of course, there is a ton more examples of these things that go wrong for him, but you get the idea of what's going on here. I really liked the progression of how he discovered how to use his powers. It basically just kind of starts with him saying things in jest, you know, something along the lines of maybe, gee, I sure hope a tree falls on that guy's car. As you can imagine, this gets out of hand pretty quickly because, well, he doesn't exactly know that he has these powers, and as a result, he doesn't know that his words have actual real consequences now. He does eventually figure out how to use his powers, of course, although even then, he does still kinda create a global crisis on a regular basis despite his best efforts. By far the funniest results of his powers is when he turns his dog into Robin Williams.
Biscuits, please, please, please!
Not literally, of course, but he does give his dog the ability to talk, and the dog is voiced by Robin Williams, so of course, it's pretty funny. There's a recurring joke in the movie about the dog calling Simon Pegg's love interest well, he's a dog, so whatever the terminology is for a female, I'll let you figure that part out. Honestly, it's a joke that's kind of in poor taste and really should not work on any level, but because it's being done by Robin Williams and he commits to it so well, it is just absolutely hilarious every time he says it. So yeah, the movie has a whole lot of funny one-liners and good throwaway gags, which is, you know, just the filmmakers creating as much ridiculous stuff and shenanigans as they possibly can with these powers. But outside of that, there's not really a whole lot else going on in this movie. Kate Beckinsale plays Simon's hot neighbor, and she's fine. She does an okay job. There's nothing wrong with her performance, but she's really only in there just to provide some sort of lazily thrown together romantic subplot. There's Kate Beckinsale's crazy ex-boyfriend, played by Rob Riggle, who is funny by virtue of it being Rob Riggle, but outside of that, the character is just really obnoxious and grating. The aliens are also really funny too, and they actually get some of the bigger laughs in this movie, but they're not really characters, they're just like a glorified plot device meant to give Simon his powers. And then their whole subplot of planning to destroy the world if Simon Pegg fails his test is just, it's not consequential because you know they're not going to do it, that's just not this kind of movie. The biggest problem with Absolutely Anything, and the main thing that drags it down, is the fact that it's really just a very inconsequential movie. Nothing that the characters do and nothing that happens in the movie has any lasting effect or consequences. Basically everything that Simon Pegg does with his powers, whether intentionally or accidentally, it doesn't have any consequence because he can always just undo it with those same powers. Burned a building to the ground? Undo. Made the moon disappear? Undo. Caused a worldwide famine by turning all of the food into rolls of toilet paper? Undo, undo, undo. There's really no limitations on his powers. He can do, well, absolutely anything. So if he does something that causes a problem or that he screws up somehow, he can just undo it all. And it puts the movie in this weird spot where any potential source of conflict just ends up not bearing any weight because nothing actually matters. What I mean by this is, at the end of the movie, Simon finds himself in a situation where is trapped and essentially being forced to grant wishes against his will, and he's going along with it because the script says so, I guess. It's very obvious that he could just use his powers to get himself out of that situation, but he's not doing it because I guess we have to fit a climax in there somehow, right? See, that's kind of the big problem here, is that when you're allowed to do absolutely anything, it kind of leaves you feeling nothing. There is a technicality that he only gets his powers for 1 week, not that he knows it, that's just what we know from what the aliens told us at the beginning, and this could have been a good way to actually introduce some conflict because he could have put himself in a situation that he can't do because his powers suddenly stopped working. Of course, the movie doesn't actually go that far, it's not trying to be that deep. Heck, even the alien destruction of the entire Earth is resolved in the most lazy deus ex machina of ways. Granted, I don't know how else they could have possibly resolved that subplot because it played such a small role in the overall story, but that really just goes to show you how weak the story is. In the end, it's not really meant to be more than just a silly movie about some silly aliens who give a silly guy some silly powers who create some very, very silly shenanigans. It's just kind of a shame because they could have very easily explored the deeper moral and ethical dilemma of having these powers, and they could have done it without necessarily sacrificing any of the humor or the jokes in the movie. It is a fun watch, and if you're just looking for something lighthearted and silly, this is gonna probably get a few laughs out of you. But I'm not gonna say that your time honestly wouldn't be spent watching absolutely anything else. Thumbs down. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I create content on a regular basis. You can also head over to Twitter and over to Facebook and follow me on there. And as always, if you want to know your flicks, you know where to click. Happy hunting, guys. I'll see you next time.